And we're live.
Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and Castellan robots to that 6+++ show. I am your host, Tom. I've been having a really fun time behind the scenes getting shouted at because I'm not very good at technology and I accidentally recorded a 22-second video that nobody loves that we had to remove from the feed. But now we're going to be back to being a slick professional operation. We're here to talk about shooting. One way you can play 40k with lots of guns and how to get an advantage. And we've got a really nice squad of people for it, and we'll do some questions at the end. It should all be a really, really nice time. Let us know in the comments what you're up to. Hopefully, we've got a few of you here. And if you have any other questions for us, you can shoot them in the chat. We'll get to them later on as well. So we'll talk to our various other guests, hosts, friends, players of the 6++ team, starting where I'm supposed to start with my dear leader, Chris, who's got his brush in hand. Chris, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. How are you, Thomas?
It's just I can't wait for term to end.
Yeah,
Everything's
feel
just
that.
manic and crazy. But
When
it's
did you
going to be
break
good.
up?
Next week, which is
Oh,
pretty
you
fucking
son of
great.
a...
I know, so that's really good. And then everything will be better. But everything's just a bit manic until then. I'm nearly there now.
Nice.
And what are you painting, Chris?
I'm painting Big Chad himself, Angry Ron.
Oh, look at that! What an amazing, amazing model. How are you
I had
finding it to paint?
experiences with him this weekend.
I look forward to hearing about those experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you who are following have been following for a while, you know I have recently become a World Eaters main. I've decided to build and paint an entire army in 4 weeks and
Good.
play them as my main army, even though I've never actually played a game. Will I
Yeah.
like it? Who knows? We'll see.
We hope so. We hope so.
We hope so. Some of you are probably there going, 4 weeks, that's easy. And some of you are there going, 4 weeks, that's horrendous. Why would you do that to yourself? Like, we're all different hobbyists, aren't we? For
Yep.
me, I'm kind of in the middle ground. I'm kind of keen to make sure this army looks nice. In the first 2 weeks, I built the 2,000 points and painted like 3 Exalted 8-bound and a Master of Executions. So now I've got 2 weeks to paint everything else. My time is quite limited, to be fair. I don't get a huge amount of time in the evenings and that. I mean, I don't really ever play Warhammer barring tournaments at the moment either. I'm unfortunately at Leicester as well this weekend, so I don't get a weekend to try and buff it out.
Oh
But
no.
I'd like to get the whole army kind of like tabletop ready. So just get the base coats, get that down for our festive RTT, because I wouldn't want to take just like a bunch of half-painted stuff to the RTD. I do want to make sure it's at least fully done. So hopefully I can get that done, and then I can play my first ever 3 games of World Eaters
That's going to be
live with the
quite an
team.
exciting place to try them out, won't it?
Yeah, it'd be good fun. So that's what I'd like to do. Basically, my main concern is the trim. Oh boy, there's quite a lot of trim. These corn berserkers, they might like killing, but they also like trim. So
Chaos line.
got quite a lot of that to do. Yesterday, as I was slogging my way through like 15 8-bound and all their red skin, I was like, this is boring. And then I looked at like the pot of bronze staring at me. I was like, oh no, this could be a bad time. So yeah, I'm going to keep putting that off for as long as possible, and we'll see. So yeah, if I can get the base coats done and the army based in 2 weeks, then I'll be a happy chappy.
Yeah, be cool. And then hopefully you have a bit more time over Christmas.
Yeah, then I can do the actual fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, World Eaters are awesome. I think that you'll have lots of fun with that. It's going to be really exciting. Maybe you'll win the festive RTT with them.
Yeah, well, if I do, you will suck. So
it's possible. It's definitely possible.
well, Ed won the last RTT, right? So anyone can win.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, exactly.
I would fucking bone to pick here. Didn't get any ITC points for it. Fucking sound.
Yeah.
Love that.
Oh, call out. Talk to the TO about it.
I did.
Who was the TO?
He's a knob.
He didn't give a shit. He did not care whatsoever.
He didn't like you the first time he met you, I believe.
Yeah,
I reckon. Yeah, no.
You tell that to
you
everyone.
should try and be more likable, Ed.
Crushed me. Genuinely crushed me. I wake up in cold sweats remembering that
To be
moment.
fair, that might be why Ed needed some time out of the hobby because of how you treated him at that event, Dave.
That's
I
fair.
didn't play for 10 weeks in person after that.
Yeah.
Just
there
saying.
You go. You got to think carefully. I mean, in case you haven't noticed, Ed and Davey are both here. Aren't they characters? Aren't they personalities? Bringing the noise. Let's start with Ed. Ed, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Pretty good. I
Yep.
went undefeated at an event this weekend.
Oh, very good.
Admittedly, it was my local Friday Night Magic.
Okay.
Well played,
But
sir.
I was well pleased about that. I've been playing for 4 months and
You're
killing
good.
it.
Nice
So that was
mastery.
nice.
Good at Magic. There you go.
I had a bit of a moment. I was like, do I just like full-time switch to Magic? And I was like, no. Well, no, you're going to be pleased at this answer because I thought it through and gone, this isn't for me. One, I really enjoy playing Magic. I don't want to ruin that by going competitive with it because that's what happens when you go competitive. You spend
It's
40
true.
to 60 hours thinking about it.
And then
No,
you hate it. No,
it's
I get
way
that.
more expensive, and the level of play is way fucking higher in Magic.
Okay.
Who plays Warhammer? Bunch of clowns. Like, watch
Hello, everyone
some of the
listening.
professional level Magic stuff. Those guys are killers. There are
Yeah.
not very many killers in Warhammer, even at an international level. There is a
That's
handful of them
true.
who are absolute beasts. But
Mm.
yeah, I can probably dominate the world, with a big hat or something in Warhammer if I put enough effort in. I can't do that in Magic,
Okay.
especially with like 30 years of background for some people. But
Yeah, that's fair. So that means
yeah.
we're stuck with you for the time being. Then you're sticking around.
Oh yeah.
Good.
I was
Nice.
also at a GT. I went to the
Oh,
GT
nice.
with a plan to win it. Didn't.
Okay.
I took my Chaos Knights, which I think they're in a pretty solid spot. But I got
They are.
reminded that they're not an amazing army in singles. They're still good. I like them. But round one, I played into Ironstorm Marines. I think the only way you win that with Chaos Knights is deploying the line, go first.
Yep.
I went second. I didn't
Oh.
deploy in the line. I wanted to try and play KG, do some
Mm.
shenanigans, see if I could outplay him. Just still got bodied. Got like 97 to 77 or something like that, so it was fine. Had a good time. Very briefly talk about my day two. My day two was fantastic. Played Chaos Knights Mirror into Mark, who runs the event.
Okay.
He's only played Chaos Knights at tournaments starting at this one, so it was a bit of a collaborative game. Mark's a mate. I've known him for a while.
Yeah.
We had a great time. He went second though, and there was lots of bottom of turn scoring.
Yeah.
Turns out you really need the bottom of turn scoring. But we had so many great moments where, for example, one of my models survived on 1 wound, another one survived on 2 wounds, the third model that he goes to in the combat phase dies, explodes. One of the 2 wound models is 6.3 inches away. We got a judge to check. I was like, I'm not touching this. Can you just please? Not only did that, my model die, it blew up and killed his 1 and 2 wound models remaining that were on an objective, taking him off the objective, meaning I scored more primary. It was such a clown car game with just
wonderful.
fun moments on both sides.
How many Chaos Knights were on the board?
So I started 2 in reserve, and he started all of his on the board, which was interesting. I think it was probably the right choice, to be honest. So at one point, the highest models we had was probably 22, which is not. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, not bad.
We also had a chat before the game because at this point I'd lost the game, so I was like, yeah, whatever. We'll have some fun with it, and we couldn't decide whether it was better to go banners, teleport homers, and bring it down, because obviously bring it down's free. Teleport homers is really good, or to go tactical and try and get the CP, turn that into a model advantage and win in the late game. So I went with the tactical. I think that's wrong. I think you just go bring it down. But it was good to get the play with it. And then game 5, I had another game that was just ludicrous. Playing into World Eaters on the corner deployment where you're 18 inches away, so we got multiple charges off into be turn 1.
Oh wow!
I planned for it. You're like, I'm going to get charged. Let him charge the things I want to, and then mop up. He failed a 6-inch charge with Angron, and he didn't have a CP because he had to use that to get the flat advance with him.
Yeah.
So that was huge.
That's
then in my
massive.
turn, I put like 6 models into him in the shooting phase. He survives on 2 wounds. I charge a carnivore into him. I get 5 hits out of 6 attacks. I get 1 wound out of 5 hits. He passes his 4 up. He immediately kills the carnivore. Carnivore doesn't explode. I'm like, it's fine. I've got 2 backup options here. Goes to his turn. He fails the battle shock. I'm like, cool. I'm going to Terror Shades you. You've got 2 wounds remaining. I'm going to roll 66. Each 4-up will not only heal me, but it'll wound you. I roll 1 4-up. Angron is alive on 1 wound.
Oh, God.
And then he moves, puts it between 2 of my brigands. I'm like, cool, I'm going to Overwatch you. And I do finish him off with the Overwatch, but at that point, I'm 2 CP down, which is not where I wanted to be.
No.
But yeah, it was good. Killed him,
Yeah.
won that game. It was tight, but got it at the end. Came 6th, I think it was. It was
very
fine.
good. Very
It was a
good.
good weekend.
If Angron makes that charge, are you fucked, or is it still playable round with?
I think it's fine. I think
Okay.
because a lot of stuff went against me in the early turn instead of like outside of average rolls. I think if we're talking he makes the charge but we get average rolls, I think it's okay. But there was a lot of really swingy stuff. Like in melee, he couldn't kill any of my shooting dogs. He killed all my carnivores, like absolutely mulched them, but as soon as he touched a brigand, he just whiffed all his rolls. But then I couldn't kill any of his characters. So it was an interesting back and forth. Good game though. Really fun game.
Awesome. And Chaos Knights, is that something you're gonna be carrying on with for the time being, do you think?
I don't know. Like, it feels super bad in singles when you get that one army that can just shoot you across the table, which is going to be played by a lot of people because it's Marines. So
it will be popular, I think.
Yeah, I need to work out what I want because I want to, I think, really hit it hard next ITC season. So I need to work out what I want to do. Problem is, there's going to be a data slate change, but I need to ideally.
Do you like wraiths?
I do like Necrons, and John and I are going to be chatting to I think Mark Crumblehome.
Oh, wonderful! Excellent.
Yeah,
a great guest to get on for that.
Oh yeah, he's so lovely,
funny.
and he knows so much about Necrons. I'm super jazzed about what I've seen from Necron so far, and I've
honestly,
only
I think it's the coolest, best rounded book of the ones that have come out so far. It's not
There's ways to kill stuff now.
We've only got a few books, but it looks very exciting.
They can play a "I'm going to kill your shit" list now,
they
as opposed to "I'm not going to die."
Yeah,
and then I'm going to die anyway.
They really got to glow up, and obviously a couple of things got nerfed, but there's a lot of cool stuff. So I think we'll see a lot of Necrons. That might be a fun one to enjoy. I think it's got. I think the nice thing with that book is it looks like you can do several different things depending on where the game goes and what you need. So
the best thing about it is because I played them in 8th. I have 9 wraiths already, so I'm pretty well situated for that.
So you're halfway there.
Halfway there, yeah. Wonderful. Well, I've also got Davey here. Davey, how are you?
Oh, hello. Nice to see you all.
It's nice to see you.
Yeah, all good, all good. I'm also going to be one of the first World Eaters mains on the channel, as I am. Also getting through some models.
World Eaters mains all over the shop.
I don't know if I mean, I don't think I'll be finishing them as quickly as Chris, as I'm just finding paint so laborious at the moment. But yeah, hey ho, it's fun. Got lots of things to build. John sent me my wonderful World Eaters Christmas box, which I now have to collect from the post office because I wasn't in when it arrived.
Oh no!
Yeah, god damn it! Now I get to see him seen in public.
It was the time I had to go to like Hemel Hempstead Depot to rescue some kind of Warhammer that hadn't made it into the house. Good time.
It's bad news. But then, other than that, though, done a Vanguard Onslaught video, which will be on the channel tomorrow, which is exciting to see. And I've took that to a GT last weekend, the weekend before, and then that's on top of the 2 RTTs I did earlier last month. So really fun, really good time at the weekend, obviously with the wonderful Tom Lohman.
I was part of that.
And it was a really good, absolute savage group of people.
It was vicious,
but a really fun event.
That's another shout out to the Hertfordshire Winter GT run by Toys of Mass Destruction, which we had an amazing time at. I've not been to one of theirs before. The venue's amazing. They're good guys. They put on a really good event, and it's a strong crowd, strong players. So.
It was a really good event, and but now I'm just kind of bummed out. I've got nothing really until Nottingham GT.
Wow, that's a long
time. It feels like a long time, but I guess it'll go by. It's like 6 weeks, right? So, and then 2 of those weeks you wouldn't have had anything because Christmas is there probably.
Exactly.
Although I keep refreshing BCP, I'm like, why isn't anyone putting anything on between Christmas and New Year near me?
last year, was it last year? A year before, I went to a GT, no, an RTT, sorry, on like the 27th or something. It was like a Wednesday between Christmas and New Year's.
Hmm.
I
I had
don't
nothing
think
better to
there
do that
isn't
year.
anything.
I'm looking at one that's between Christmas and New Year down in Winchester. We've got a few people.
Yeah, you're going to Winchester. I would have loved to have gone to that one. It's just a little bit too far. But if there was something, I mean, we're very blessed in the area we live because there's so many, cities, towns, etc. that'll just put events on.
Oh yeah, it's a very
But for
busy
some reason,
scene. But yeah, people like to do other stuff at Christmas. I say embrace it, Davey. Yeah, you got a young family. Just
Twitch.
just
I need my
enjoy,
fix,
just
man. I need my
enjoy that.
fix.
I know it is tough. It is tough. I'm sure you'll survive. Paint those world eaters. You've got to compete with Chris. How many? I'm curious to see because we've got at least 3 world eaters mains. I know John wants to be a world eaters main as well. Do we have any more than that, or is that it? Is that all who got on in our team?
I think that's all I need the 3 at this point. Rookie numbers.
Yeah,
rookie
a few others were put off.
Just in time for everything to get nerfed in.
They won't get nerfed.
Sure, they're like bang on like 50% on
I would
highly reliable.
If they've got any sense, they leave them the fuck alone. Don't do anything. Definitely don't boost them.
Hopefully.
No.
Absolutely do not do that. And also
cheeky little boost arena.
No, but they're saying that they hate it
by
when
the time Nottingham happens, they will have ruled it so that 8-bound can't go in rhinos as well. Because I don't know if anyone's seen what's going to be happening at Leicester, but 8-bound can go in rhinos. So
oh wow, really?
Oh, really? That's fun.
Keywords accident. They technically can. Obviously, they shouldn't. But it is, I think, currently as ruled that they can.
Here's just another keyword accident that they should probably fix, but will never come up. You can put 12 Centurion Devastators, or just Centurions, in a Corvus Blackstar.
Yes, you can. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is it good? Who knows?
No, I know.
Imagine that plane just. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Just like scraping the ground as it moves along.
Yeah. Absolutely. So welcome to everybody in the chat. We have Sindri saying 3-2s for the 3-2 throne. You know what we're about. And Sindri took 8th at GT this past weekend with 30 jackals. Very, very cool. Well done, Sindri. Nice to see you out and about taking names. Existence UK is here. Sindri is still cheering, very excited. Sindri's well up for this episode. Jack is here. Pickalax is here. Phil Gill is here. Mechanicus is here. Saying I'm a bit quiet. I am a bit quiet. We can't work out. My mic's being a bit funny, but I'll try and be as loud as I can. You might have to deal with some annoying breathing. I'm very sorry about that. And then Jack Tight says Nassim's on World Eaters now. Yeah, absolutely. That's
classic Nassim following
that's
the
something.
clues.
That's something. Yeah, exactly.
Those War Masters, they're always just one behind.
They're
us,
always looking to our.
Well,
tech,
you could argue that
we're currently first, and War Masters are still second.
Well, they are. They absolutely are.
Not to name any names.
It's always better to laugh first, and I think laughing first is very important that we do that. Yeah, and we're enjoying being top of the standing still. We
3 weeks in a row, baby.
Need some of our boys to deliver at Leicester. I'm not going to Leicester. I'm going to a one-day kill team RTT on the Sunday that my dear friend Adam is putting on, and I'm gonna just not think very much about that.
Do you know the rules for kill team?
I have played it a couple of times.
Okay.
And I have a nice kill team who've got like a traitor Ogrin and traitor Commissar. It's that traitor guard kill team. They're quite fun. But no, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. But I've done this before. Like I went to a one-day Sigmar RTT where I'd never played it before, and I still beat a guy. So I'm up for it. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. Jack Tight says must have missed the 6++ Sisters player. I think he's just been copying Paint Celestine in the Discord though, because we've had a sisters chat forever, and it's very obvious that you and Vic just went in there and got everything you know from there. Absolutely. So yeah, I was at the same GT as Davey. I have already summarised it on Rock and Stone, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So yeah, I'm not going to go into it here. But it was a great time. Really enjoyed it. Was delighted to take second place after a surprise Clement round 1. Put me in an interesting spot for the rest of the event.
Clement win?
Yes, Clement did win, yeah. He absolutely annihilated the other Eldari player at the end, which helped me out no end with getting to getting to that sweet second place. He was lovely. I had not talked to Clement properly before.
Was he playing Crimson Hunters?
No. Double Harlequin boat, otherwise more or less what you would expect. But he does like Crimson Hunters. He also he talked about Void Raven Bombers. We talked about that.
I think a lot of Eldar lists might well go to the Crimson Hunter Harlequin type thing after the upcoming nerf.
It might well be.
I think a lot of LDAP lists will go on the fucking shelf, mate. So don't worry about what units are going to be good in Eldar.
We'll
because there'll
see.
be a short list.
We'll see. Yeah, let's not call it too soon, but we can dream. We can have Christmas wishes.
They need to get absolutely fucking binned so I can start playing them again and feel good about it.
Oh, I do know that feeling. I do know that feeling. We are very good at self-promotion, possibly the best. So I'm going to hand over to Chris for the Plus roundup. Chris, round up that Plus. What's happening?
Oh, so much, as always.
Yeah, we're busy boys.
And we have been producing a whole host of videos. So let me talk you through those videos as I hit refresh. So
a little insight into Chris's process there. If you ever wondered, how does Chris do the Plus roundup? The answer is he goes on our YouTube, looks at what has gone on there since he last looked at it.
Absolutely.
Tells you, the listener.
We've done some videos.
We're a slick operation, and we know.
Look, I haven't watched any of these. So I can't remember. November 23rd. So last time we had obviously we have had Tom interview Vic about the Adeptus Sororitas, and that was an incredible watch. So congratulations, Thomas. If you are,
I did all the heavy lifting.
You did all the heavy lifting. So if you have any interest in Sisters, Jack Ty, you might learn a thing or two from that. Then
I think so.
Then you should check that out. And Ed and Scrivo have also have kind of finished their Cracking the Codex series on Space Marines, and have kind of leveled out with a tips and tricks video. So if you want to kind of if you're about to go to an event, for example, and you're like, I might run into some Marines, check out that video.
100%.
Because that will kind of just help you have that kind of preparation idea. In terms of live stuff, we had a very interesting 22-second video by Tom, but that doesn't exist anymore. But if you do want to watch Rock and Stone episode 4,
yes, sir,
which he just streamed accidentally live, then check that out. Episode 4, Votan in the Meta, in which Tom talks about Votan in the meta.
That is absolutely right.
With the help of Jake from Vanguard Tactics and James of Toys of Mass Destruction.
Yeah, it was good. It was good fun, good episode, and yeah, my Heart CT roundup is in there, so you can find all of that in there as well.
Yeah, and in terms of upcoming content,
Bugwatch tomorrow.
Bugwatch tomorrow. There we go, and we're also talking about our next matchup plus video.
Mm-hmm.
You were going to do another breaking the codex, Ed.
Yeah. There's
they're signed on for forever now, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. So shift your mic up a bit, Tom.
Unique content you can only find on our channel.
Absolutely, nobody else in the game is doing what we do.
Ideas.
Not bitter, genuinely not bitter. It's nice to see more people doing good content. I'll come up with something else innovative, and then we can see someone else do the same thing. But yeah, no, we've got a NIDS video coming up, I think. I don't think we know any NID players in the team. No. I think I might have to outreach.
No, I tell people I don't know you either.
It's understandable. Yeah, so I believe that Davey will be joining myself and Scrivo for episode 1 of the NIDS. Then NIDS may take a little bit of a backseat. We'll just sort of fill it in as we can, because we've got Necrons and AdMech to do. So that's going to be super exciting.
Did you say Deadmech?
Yeah. No, he said EdMech, which I really liked. Yeah.
Freudian slip.
If Ed did run them, they would be EdMech, and I'd have a lot of time for that.
Just completely unrelated. I have been listening to a playlist called "You Initially Thought You Were Set to Save the World, and then discover that you were meant to destroy it" or something. Completely butchered that title, but just the an insight to the inner machinations of my brain.
Yeah, very good. Very good. There's a lot coming, basically, and we're going to have a bunch more stuff because, term ends, as I just discussed. So that means we can finish Play Your Cards Right. It means we can do a few bits for the Patreon. It means the meta weather report can get in before the slate comes. So that will all be dropping next week as well. We've got a few more comments. We've got William Lovell saying that was a very nice way to end the Cracking the Codex Marine series. I completely agree. I think with that nice little sort of summary key things bit, that really makes the way that the Cracking the Codex series is set up sort of really nicely designed to get you all the things that you need. So if you're trying to figure out what an enemy army does or one you might want to play, I really recommend starting there. Existence UK says EdMech, EdCrons, etc. Yeah, we can definitely make that a thing. Ed loves it when we make a thing out of a thing that he said on the internet. So let's absolutely do that. Jack Tight says a few opponents from this weekend said they'd listened to your sister's episode. They all still lost. And as we know, Jack Tight, an opponent knowing what your army does and still being able to beat it is a really good reflection on the state of that army and its current place in the game. So well done, you. Very proud of you. That's really, really, really good. Okay, that's all of the roundup. We will now go into our main topic, which is shooting. Who here likes shooting? Chris likes shooting.
You're holding Angron.
He's really good at shooting. He's really good at shooting.
Does he have any? He doesn't, does he? Does he not even have like a whip? Or
he doesn't even have the grenade strap. Like, what
does
loser?
He not? Outrageous. Ed likes shooting. Chris likes shooting. David, do you like shooting?
Shooting's all right.
Do you remember what good guns are like? It's been a while.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm coming around to it. I quite like it. It's quite fun. It's a big part of 40k. You shoot guns at stuff, they go away. And we've talked in previous episodes about other things to do with getting your army ready and getting advantage in different phases of the game. So tonight we're going to talk about shooting. And I've got a few categories. I've sort of thought about how we might organize this up. I've chatted with the others, and we're going to talk about this in terms of goals first. Goals for your shooting phase. Then we'll think about risk and reward, things to bear in mind with that. We'll talk about synergies. We'll talk about the old-fashioned term of target priority. We'll talk about sequencing, and we'll talk about counterplay before finishing by thinking a little bit about redundancy. So it's a whole bunch of important things that you can be bearing in mind as you're doing your shooting phase. So feel free to note those down. Feel free to fill those notes out. If
Welcome
you're really
to a
interested
lecture.
in doing well. Yeah, exactly. We're lecturing away here. This is exactly how I do my lectures in real life. Those 22-second fake lectures at the start to get people, get people really interested. Stick my head in, say something, and then leave. You know, that kind of thing.
Hook them in. It's all about that hook.
Yeah, you got to get people intrigued. You know, why is the title the same as last week's? Why did the video end immediately? Like, you know, all that kind of stuff. So let's start with goals, because I think having a clear sense of what your goals for a shooting phase are is actually very important. I think it's something where a lot of this is instinctive, but if you actually stop to break it down and think about it, working out what you are trying to do in a shooting phase and building on that basis is really useful. So I wonder if you guys want to maybe comment on that and kind of work that in.
Kill shit.
Okay, start with you, Chris. So your goal is kill shit, is it?
Kill shit, yeah. See shit, kill shit.
Okay.
I mean, there might be some thought to what shit to kill, but generally the shooting phase is about killing shit, I would like to think. But yeah, for me, it's...
This is top quality.
This is top quality
from
stuff.
the captain, yeah.
Well, I'm World Eater's main.
Angron is literally seeping into him. You can see like Angron
so
is making
right
him
now.
Angry and a little bit less bright, if I'm honest.
Yeah, how dare you. So for me, it's, first of all, is there anything I need to kill from my cards?
Okay, there we go. Scoring kills.
And I'll be like, oh, I really don't want to have to kill that character, but I've got to assassinate. So now I've got to try and that's obviously if you go tactical, that's one of the nice things about going fixed is you're not necessarily hooked into that pattern. But if you have gone tactical, for me, it's like, right, is there anything, is this definitely a gettable card? So quite a big thing is obviously with Aldo is the Incarn. Is there a way that I can maybe get my Incarn somewhere to now kind of like epic challenge out a character or that sort of thing?
Good.
But I think like in general, just like looking at, so if you did draw Assassinate, for example, looking at your opponent's characters, are there any ways that I can get to see them and precision amount of epic challenge and those sorts of things? So can I score my cards? And then it's kind of thinking about what is potentially hurting you the most. So like, for example, if you're playing knights, then you might be thinking, I'm going to try and kill the big anti-vehicle stuff first. And then the third thing I would think about is what's going to be, like in order of priority, what's going to be hurting me soon. You know, like if you've got Angron in your deployment zone, probably going to have to deal with him. But that thing over there, which actually, if I measure how far it can go, and it's not really going to be able to affect the board too much at this time, then that's not as high a priority as a particular area, which is maybe about to smash into a flank or something.
it
So
completely makes
that's kind
sense.
of the steps that I would personally go through.
There you go. So when he opens it up, there are actually some really useful
Oh, who
insights in
knew?
there for you. So yeah, killing that is related to your scoring, shooting things that are going to help you score cards. Do you need to clear everything out of the middle? Do you need to kill a vehicle? Do you need to kill a character? Do you just need to get no prisoners? So you need to just bully a couple of chaff units. These are all important things. And as you say, this can be linked to broader macro strategic goals as well. Ed, what do you think? What kinds of goals do you set in a shooting phase?
Yeah, well, before we'd go into that, I think Chris has got an interesting point. Playing World Eaters, they do have the best shooting unit in the game. I think we all prepared ahead of time and have one of those. It's the Humble Rhino. We've all got one of those here, as we just spoke about before game.
Yeah.
Tom, where's your Rhino?
Did
you not?
I can't believe you've done this. I can't believe you've done this. I've got
Done him.
I've got a
We've done
Goliath.
it. It's not the same,
truck.
is it?
It doesn't
Close
count.
enough. You're forgiven.
Oh,
a Rhino fight.
The Rhino is relevant there. I fucking love the Rhino.
I feel so excluded.
It's so good in the shooting phase because it does teleport home is so fucking good right now.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I did? I see
Yeah.
one of my opponents playing World Eaters and they've got Corn Berserks and a fucking Rhino. I look at that and go, oh, that's going to get you 15 points so hard. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do anything about this on UKTC. Oh,
Yeah.
God, I hate it. But yeah, no, I think, I mean, not to be contrary, the most important part of the shooting phase is the bit before you get there.
That's completely true. Yeah.
When you set up your lines of fire.
Mm.
Playing Chaos Knights, it's quite nice because you've got an effective range of 12 inches on your melter. And it's really good melter, but you've got to really think where you want to go. And they also have Dreadhounds, which you want to activate at the start of the phase. Well, you have to activate at the start of the phase, where you declare 2 or more of your units, one of your opponent's units, and you just get exploding 6s into that unit.
Yes.
So I'm a big fan of thinking about what you do before you roll any dice.
Yeah.
Playing a clock so your opponent doesn't get arsey with you for spending 5 minutes not moving any models and just sort of standing there and looking at things.
I totally agree with this, by the way. You want to know what you're going to fire, in what order, what combinations you're going to apply to it. Because if you just start instinctively randomly doing things, your chances of making errors or falling short are so much higher, right?
Yeah. The way I sort of structure my shooting phase is basically just have a priority list.
Yeah.
This needs to die, then this needs to die. If I get to this one, fantastic. If not, whatever. And you know what? The first 2 things almost always die if you do that.
Yes, exactly that.
Not if you have your entire army tied up by Angron and you can only bring X models to bear on him. But, if things are going well, what things you want to die should and will die.
Completely. Davey, what do you reckon?
Oh man, realistically, Ed stole my point, but essentially, I think with Tyranids, the shooting.
Whatever happens, you did the thing with the rhinos, so
we got good.
That was the dream. That was all we wanted to
I'm
achieve.
devastated I couldn't reach a Sagittar from here. I had to go with a Goliath truck. Why a Goliath truck is closer than a Sagittar right now, I don't know. You carry on.
Telling. It's very telling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was it being converted into an Orc truck?
Oh, he's a clever boy. He's nailed it. Yeah, very good.
Nice.
So really, I think with Tyranids, like what I'm kind of thinking about at the moment is like what Ed said is the phase beforehand, right? Is can I survive the next shooting phase if I stick my head out? And it's that thing of assessing your firing lines and then saying, okay, I don't want to stick my head out first because I'll get shot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of that chicken and egg, right? Are you going to game of chicken? Who's going to blink first and try and kill something in the middle of the board with their big gun? Then the other one will shoot them. What people don't realize is my big gun will not kill their big gun because I am strength 8 and they are toughness 11 or whatever a Space Marine tank is. So yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at with it. I try and get out, make sure I know all the firing lines at the start of the game, where do I deploy and everything. But then when the shooting phase comes round, it's very much, am I finishing off what I'm shooting here? Because for me, shooting isn't necessarily the way to score because I'm winning by move blocking and getting across the board.
Yep.
It's all those things that get through the move block that I'm shooting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I think the the goals of a shooting phase are going to vary from army to army, right? If there's some armies where what they're trying to do is lift you entirely from the board because that's how they're going to win the game. There's others where one of the goals you have to think about, and this takes us on to our next point, is my goal this shooting phase is to do some damage without inviting so much damage in response that I then cease to exist. So sometimes shooting phases are quite quiet. Sometimes you don't do much at all. Sometimes you'll just take a couple of little wins and not really poke much out or expose much at all. And sometimes it's about just trying to provoke enough of a response or force enough of a response that you might get a better go next time. Because shooting, a bit like melee, shooting has go turns and not go turns, right? I think armies and good players need to identify when the moment to unload a bunch of their weapons and options is, because if you do that at the wrong time, then you'll lose the game. Which takes us very nicely onto risk and reward. Ed, you offered up risk and reward as a point. Do you want to elaborate on risk versus reward in shooting?
Absolutely. I think a great example was game 4 at the GT I went to, which was Chaos Knights versus Chaos Knights. We played a really cagey first couple of turns, and there was because all my guns are 24 inches and all of his guns are 24 inches, and our movement is 12 inches, and the melter range is 12 inches. If you can take pot shots with melter, you will be in range of melter, but melter 4 as opposed to just the flat d6 damage. So we were playing the dance of I was putting all my models that could get into range of his low not blue scribes that were doing teleport homers in the middle, so I could dreadhounds it, roll loads of non-line of sight shooting into it to hopefully pick it up. Didn't, but on average it was about there, so I think it was the right choice. But then staying 24.1 inches away, so if he wanted to get onto the primary, he had to be the one that moved closer to me, and just sort of playing that dance. Just knowing your opponent's gun line stats is really important. Like if you're playing against a load of, I don't know, let's say predators with the autocannons, what are they, strength 9 AP 1 D flat 3 damage, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, you can just walk out your vehicles. When they've got loads of lethal hits, suddenly you've got to be more respectful for it. So you've got to think about what can you commit. Another great example of this is angle shooting. So how many times have you seen someone who's played loads of games sort of get down and be like, right, okay, so the tip of my gun's poking out here, I can shoot this thing. If it dies, you won't be able to move anyone into range. You're like, that's true. That's how it works. How many times have you done it? Like, I do it all the time because I really like shooting my opponent's models. I really like not getting shot back.
That for me lately, it's the pioneers, right? The Votan bikers. Their whole life is popping on a board edge somewhere where they can just hit something, get rid of it, and then not get hit back. Because if you shoot pioneers, they die. So they're one of those units where they're always trying to just sneak angles and chip away without getting too involved. So there's a very real risk with those, because if they do get lit up, they will fall apart.
Yeah, I think any sort of regular chassis, even a tank chassis that isn't something like a Land Raider, really wants to be sort of angle shooting and trying to deny shots back where they can, because T10 sounds amazing if you're still dialed into 9th edition brain, but it just falls over to any real damage.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because there's almost a trade dimension to this, actually. I know it's something we talk about in terms of fight phase, and we'll get to that next time, but there is a bit of that with shooting. If this sticks out, it'll get shot back. Maybe that gives me an opportunity to then stick another thing out, shoot that other thing back, but it depends very much on what you're fighting. And obviously, it is always worth bearing in mind, there are some units out there that can shoot you back, that can do other kinds of things that will ruin your shooting phase. So you need to be very aware of what the risks are when you're shooting at particular targets. Like, do I have enough stuff to basically kill an entire Wraithguard brick? If you don't, the risk of shooting that is going to be much higher than worth doing, right?
You look so fucking pleased with yourself.
Yeah.
And understanding what the potential things that could modify that. So asking your opponent what stratagems they have that can make it more difficult to kill whatever you're going to try and trade for.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll come back to that in more detail in Counterplay, because actually I think this is an edition that's loaded a whole bunch of opponent counterplay into the shooting phase, and there's all sorts of tricks being pulled, so you need to be very aware of those, and you need to be factoring them into the risks that you take, because they will make things even more risky than you thought they were going to be. You can end up trading for nothing, much less for something small, and that's the way the game currently is. So we'll get back into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. Mechanicus says, can you do a stream that's just Chris concentrating hard on painting? Yes, we can absolutely do that. He's signing up to do that right now. I think that would be a great way to get Chris making some content. He can just all sit and watch him paint.
Yeah, it's just watch me paint. Yeah, therapeutic.
Literally watching paint dry.
You could we could get a wig, do a sort of Bob Ross. I'm just going to put a little bit of blood on this.
Yeah,
here.
just splatter the shit out.
Next up,
Sorry, can I add something?
Oh, sorry.
So for me, one thing I used to do is it'd be like, oh, put this unit out and I'll just do a bit of shooting with it. It might die, but it doesn't matter. But actually running the maths of what is this going to do? Is this actually a worthwhile thing? The most recent thing on memory was my first game with Grey Knights, my only game with Grey Knights on TTS. I put out these.
Grey Knight main.
I put out these Grey Knights. I dropped them down to my home objective, and I left out the Vortex of Doom Librarian to like fire into these guys because my previous Vortex of Doom had done like fucking shit tons of mortals. I was like, this is amazing. This time the Vortex of Doom did 2 wounds to a Devilfish, and then a lot of those Terminators died. And it was like, I didn't really think about this. It was just I just want to use the Vortex of Doom. But actually, I think quite often we put something out to like add their amount of shooting. But if you were to run the numbers, actually, what it's probably only doing like 3 or 4 wounds to something.
Yeah.
It actually isn't worthwhile in the grand scheme of things compared to using that unit. And obviously, we all know Eldar are still very powerful. However, if you do shoot them and you get the chance to shoot them, they do generally die. So as what thing I've had to really work on, and I used to work on it a lot with the Harlequins, is this actually useful shooting that is going to contribute in a meaningful way and mean that then I am safe from this? So I think that's something that quite often I remember playing. I can't remember what the game was, but at Coventry, I definitely played into someone. He was like, "Oh, I don't know whether to put this out and shoot," and I was like, "Well, let's just run the maths quickly. Like you're going to do 2 wounds on average. Is that really worth it, considering it will die next turn?" So,
Ed has his hand up.
If I only have shooting chassis that have a 2-up save, Armor of Contempt, and -1 damage, do I have to think?
No.
End of sentence.
Then just fucking
you absolutely don't.
do it.
No,
God, I fucking hate that list so much. Like, I love vehicle skew. I love shooting. Realistically, I should love playing it, but you just like it's so fucking dull. And, like nothing against anyone who enjoys playing it, but like I hope that they get no, genuinely like people are allowed to like the things they enjoy, but I hope it gets binned soon because it's so negative for just general play patterns of wanting to be on the board and doing things.
Yeah.
One thing I just to add as well about goals, one of the goals that you will set in one of the specific missions that I hate, it's a good mission, but I hate playing it with my current list. Purge the goddamn foe.
Yeah, there he is.
Shooting is exponentially goes up in importance in that mission because you can just sweep up points from the get-go, especially if you're going second. So in terms of setting goals, sometimes it will be kill more, essentially.
Yeah, and so that's the example where goals and risk and reward come in. In a purge the foe, I've gone first situation, sticking a couple of things out to maybe kill something can just give your opponent 8 primary. So don't do it. Just freaking go to ground and hide, and don't be giving the points away because you're not going to help yourself.
I guess is now a good time to talk about the exorcist in the room. Non-line of sight shooting, so fucking good.
Let's name check it here because it is a big deal, right? The nice thing about artillery is it gives you all sorts of ways around all those problems, doesn't it, Ed?
It really does. And if we go back to beginning of 9th edition when I was just getting into like proper competitive 40k and I was playing the Orc buggy list, the fair version. I only ran 6 of each buggy. I was still tabling Marines with non-line of sight shooting, just with 6 squig buggies. It was so disgusting. Like the power that non-line of sight shooting gives you, even when it's not at that oppressive level, just putting the pressure on your opponent's throat turn 1 is so strong.
Crazy. Puts them on a timer, right?
Well, one of my favourite stories is from I think 8th edition LVO, where Manny Chima took the most horrendous Imperial fists,
yes,
like all of the Thunderfire cannons, all the things, and he lost.
I remember that list.
He lost in like the quarters or semis to John Lennon because he'd killed everything by like turn 3, apart.
And he couldn't score the kill more.
Apart from the unkillable Leviathan Dreadnought and 10 guys, and because of that. He literally couldn't get a kill or kill more, so he lost. despite basically tabling the opponent at turn 3.
Yeah,
Like,
so funny.
that's a top tip. Don't kill your opponent too quickly.
Well, that is something. It's genuine with the cards. It's like if you know you've got certain cards coming and you've got that vehicle's on 2 wounds, and you're like, is it going to hurt me? No, it isn't. Is bring it down
leave it
because it's coming?
alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Why
I
not?
regularly leave a vehicle alive.
Yeah, vehicle,
with the
character,
hope
little
that-
chaff unit. It can be that you're like, well, I might well need this for something else in a little while. So with tactics,
I love leaving a single gargoyle alive just behind a wall. You're like, what are you going to do with it? You're going to pass a battle shock at -1 with your leadership 12? No, you're not. You're not going to do anything. Oh, I got no prisoners, did I? There's a point. There's a point. There's a point. Thank you.
Absolutely. Another thing with risk and reward, and this is something which takes a bit of practice, because I'm not saying never do this, but I'm saying be very, very careful when you do this, and that is splitting fire. Right? This is quite a controversial topic. You meet people.
I don't think it is.
It sometimes
split fire
genuinely sometimes is, because obviously units often have multiple guns, especially vehicles. Some of those guns are better at killing other things than others. The temptation is to use my Gatling gun on those little bodies, my big plasma on the big tank. But obviously the risk, and we've all seen it, is you fire several different guns at several different things and do a little bit of damage, not very much, then put yourself in a hole you can't recover from.
Well, so here's the fix to that. You do that, but you do that with your unit first, and then you go, cool, I underperformed here. I guess I put more of my anti-tank weapons into this.
Good. So that's how you can get around splitting fire, is if you see all of the units you've lined up to shoot different things as working as a team, and you've got a lot of redundancy, which we'll get to later, then suddenly splitting fire becomes a little bit less dangerous. But sometimes it is just worth making sure the thing you need to kill is dead before you worry too much about what your other guns are up to, right?
One of my biggest flaws as a player is I just can't deal with inefficient maths. So when my opponent's like, I think I'm going to split fire, I'm like, dude, I know I've only got 2 wounds, but like, if you don't kill me, you lose the game. And then they take my advice and then they kill my unit, and I'm like, wish I was able to keep my mouth closed.
Lost his shit because I was going to split fire when I was trying to finish off the Incarn into the Sweeping Hawks, and he was like, just please don't do that. Please absolutely don't do that. Don't leave the Incarn on 1 wound and then let it teleport somewhere else. Please don't do that.
Watching, like, I can't see this train wreck in slow motion.
Yeah,
not
exactly
again.
that.
Like, please, I don't care if you beat me. Just
the
do the
Vulcanite
did
kill it literally to the wound. It's worth saying, so I'd have been fine. But nonetheless, don't do it. Yeah, until you're very, very, very confident in the output of different guns. Be very, very careful with that. Right, next up, we have got synergies. Let's talk synergies in the shooting phase. What does that mean to you, Davey?
They don't have any.
Nobody tell him.
Angron.
Nobody tell him.
Oh, you're muted, Davey. Davey, you're muted. Davey, I love you. You're muted.
I just love it.
I love that you're just like, nah, just let him talk. And
I would have intervened sooner. I didn't know what Ed was on about. I'm sorry.
I love the expressive, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. Davey,
no, Journey do have some ways to buff the rest of their army, right? So
yes,
you've
exactly.
got Pyrovores that take away cover, you've got X-Wings that shoot things and give them reroll ones to hit.
Exactly.
So things like that enable the rest of your mediocre shooting to become slightly better than mediocre.
Exactly.
But that's the thing, right? We don't have great shooting, but if you want to make the most out of it, there are ways to do it. But I think that's like a big tyranny thing is everything working together. Like there's no absolute hammer of a unit. Even a Norn isn't the most powerful unit in the world, but with the help of everything, we all do it as a team, guys.
Exactly.
You know, it's that kind of vibe.
Exactly, and so it's the same with GSC. Would you like a gun that suddenly becomes AP4 ignore cover? Yes, you would like that. So you want all of the things that help it to do that to come together. So you need to drop in, you need to use the right strat, you need to have the Ridge Runner boop it with a little mortar first to make sure you've got extra AP, and then you can really cook. But if you don't do those things, suddenly you're like, oh, this is much less dangerous than it was before. So the combination play between units, and this is again something I think 10th has really pushed, is a lot of armies have little units or particular vehicles in there that give army-wide buffs to other shooting units. So you want to make sure that you use those in tandem with other things. As the flipping land speeder that's like a +1 to the wound land speeder. There's lots of things that remove cover. It's the exalted flamer chariot for demons. People run that in CSM. So there's all of those kinds of units, and spoilers, they're not going to do it very well if you don't apply the buff first before other stuff then gets to work. So you want to remember, what are the things that force multiply, make all my other stuff better?
It's very cool as well that they do it with units that aren't really good on their own. So like a Paravore is not a great flamer, but it does do that thing which helps the rest of your army.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like in 9th where, the thing that buffed the rest of your army also murdered their best unit. Like things like that. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's nice that you get some mediocre units actually performing a role.
Completely. It's like the Kronos, right? The Kronos is, unless with the brief exception of Dark Technomancers making them busted beyond all hell, it's normally useless. But now in Drukhari, he sits 9 inches away from all his mates and lets them get pain tokens back on a 4-up. So you need to think very carefully about where he is, and you need to remember to re-roll for him when you're doing your pain tokens. So those little units, those little synergies are massively important. What do you think about synergies, Chris?
I think perhaps one thing to especially consider is how you're going to maintain it over the course of the game.
Okay.
I think when you, it's very much like, you've moved stuff out. Now my turn too. I'm going to ka-chow and just destroy you. But that doesn't work. And then suddenly our stuff's gone in charge and gone off and done things, and you're suddenly a bit more spread out, and you're maybe using this buffing character. This is the only thing I've got to screen my backfield, so I better move that back, and that sort of thing. So I think potentially having that cohesive plan over the first kind of 3 turns of where am I actually trying to direct this blob of things, and I think potentially this links to knowing your terrain set, knowing where you can position certain buffing characters and that sort of thing to make sure you're hitting the point. So I know, for example, where I can put my Farseer to make sure it's within 12 of Fugan, for example, to make sure that Fugan can then do 12 damage with his gun, within 9-inch range. So it's like those sorts of things which come with just practice and playing the army and knowing the terrain sets, but having an eye on future turns, I think, is really important.
Yeah, completely. Anything to add, Ed?
Yeah, I guess I've really tested out Synergy with Chaos Knights. I ran a great and clean one, so I could drop the toughness of units by 1, making my strength 6 and my strength 12 weapons much more effective, and the burning chariot as well. And you know what I did when I went to this GT this weekend? Didn't run either of them. You got to work out whether the opportunity cost is worthwhile. I think the burning chariot is probably worth it for Chaos Knights, but I'm really on the carnivore hype train. Like I'm feeling like right now maybe you don't need to spend points on making already pretty decent shooting better when you've got other things available. So I think while it's cool to put synergy in, and like the Firestorm Ultramarines list that I've been talking about on the podcast for 4 weeks, of course now we're seeing people play that. #trendsetter definitely didn't do any work other than throw a list together, play it twice, and then never get around to making the models. But I'm gonna claim that one. I was looking at putting a couple of the storm speeders in because then you can get turn off cover, you can get +1 AP, combo it with the +1 AP the aggressors get already. And I was like, look at all this. And I was like, hold on, this is almost 300 points. The speeders die the turn after they're used. They don't actually do that much. Cool. What do I put in instead? Something good. Just like 300 points of something useful instead.
Yeah, so this is a conversation you and me, I feel, have had many times, which is that, the combination plays and the techie stuff is all well and good, but also just raw power and efficiency is very good. And the more you're relying on just reliable, consistent units and less on combination play, the easier it is and the less likely you are to fall down and have a brain fart and not do the things you need to do, right?
Yeah, the Ridge Runner example for GSE is such a great one because it's so low cost. It's so low risk. It's non-line of sight shooting, and it's so easy to pull off. Yeah,
that's it. That's the thing. It does multiple jobs. You'd want it anyway. Yeah.
So
it's about how much investment it is, isn't it?
Yeah. You absolutely have to reach a certain bar for it to be worth putting in your list there.
Completely. completely. Anyone that remembers 9th edition AdMech knows you can have too many overlapping buffs. Chris, just a little face there, cheeky little face.
Oh god, those
Wonderful,
great
right?
times.
So we've already sort of talked about this, but I'm just going to open it up to you boys. I mean, what is target priority, and why does it matter in the shooting phase? Someone go, anybody, take the shot.
So for me, it's about, as Ed said earlier, planning out your shooting phase so you kind of know where it's. But it's also like, I know when we're going to come to redundancy, kind of like making sure lots of different things can shoot different targets and having the
Yes.
angles covered in that. But for me, I would start with the things that can only shoot one thing.
Yes.
So you're like, right, this can only shoot in here. It literally can't shoot anywhere else. And I make sure I do all of those ones first. And that's my start point. Get those out of the way, and then move on to kind of like the trickier decisions. And it's
100%.
about. I mean, you've got simple things like if you've got two profile or two different guns, one's 2 damage, one's 1 damage, you're shooting into something which has only got 1 wound left, or it might make sense to put the 1 damage gun in because we want efficient maths. And it's like those things like that. Like too often, and we all do it, don't we? We just start shooting the stuff, and then go, "Oh wait, oh you've only got 1 wound left," and I've just wasted my. And because I've got like you've got like Fugan's Smelter 6 gun, and you're like, well, or a Wraith Guard or whatever. You don't want them going into something which has obviously just got like 1 or 2 wounds left. So it's about trying to order that as well, thinking about what's left, or can I plink off this 1 wound so that then I can put the 3 damage gun in to try and get the next thing. It's like those little things which actually just really help increase your efficiency a lot. So those are the sorts of things, really. I mean, it's an infinite topic, really, and it's always going to be about. When you've got so many options, you've got 4 units that can shoot 3 different things. Like the order in which you do that is going to depend on a whole host of things like angles and saves and all that sort of thing, which just comes from experience, really. But if you can start doing the little things right to begin with,
I think that's the thing. A lot of this is intuitive and instinctive, but I think thinking about it more and sort of explicitly noting down and taking note of what you are doing and what is happening as a result of what you're doing, that will be very useful. In my early 40k career, I remember someone I'm not going to name, I would observe them splitting multiple weapons into multiple different things all the time and consistently not damaging all of the things.
Was it Sean? Because he's in the chat going,
no, I wouldn't cuss Sean out like that. But it's kind of it's that kind of thing where you observe it and then you're like, oh, that isn't good. Get things done one thing at a time and move from there. And that's a big part of target priority. Have you got anything to add, Ed?
Yeah, no, I think target priority is super easy. I don't know why we even have to talk about it. All you have to do is work out what's the most valuable thing to kill, what's going to score me the most points, what's going to stop them from removing my points, what do I need to kill that's going to kill me if I don't do it. What can I kill the most efficiently with my profiles? Which order do I need to shoot the guns in? And there's about 37 different things. And then all you have to do is beautiful mind it, and that's dying. Yeah. It's like super simple, and I think guys should just
Yeah, I'm surprised you can't all immediately do that straight away.
Wild, isn't it?
Yeah, David. So I'll let you come in as well, Dave, in case you've got anything to add to this before we move forward.
No, really. Well, you can hear me now. Shut up. Right.
It's just
an emphatic noise of you making sure you weren't muted.
Nah, man, it's this. Yeah, pretty much like Ed said, right? It's for me. I think one of the most I would pick out of all of that is the efficiency. So against Custodes the other day, I knew that exocrines were my in. I knew my plan ahead of time before the game started. I was like, okay, I need to get these exocrines with a beeline on these custodian guards because they've got the profile that gets through them if I get to battle shock them. As soon as the battle shocked, they all come out of the woodwork. Oh, hello, boom, boom, boom. And it's just knowing that's something that you want to kind of, it's knowing, it's having a bit of a target priority before the game's even started, not turn by turn.
Yeah, completely. And I do think with shooting phases, and this is where the flexibility and lining up different things, as we said, which is more of a movement phase thing, but shooting phases often go one of 2 ways, right? It's
well or
never
poorly.
It's never exactly average. You never just have all my guns are doing precisely the damage that you're doing. You might have a moment where you activate a couple of things, you don't scratch something, and then you're like, oh, well, I need to dig for some other solutions then. Or things might go super well. So an example would be the game I had this weekend against James Grover, where his monolith literally just fell over. I shot a landfall at it, it did 16 wounds to the monolith, and you're like, oh, okay, the monolith just doesn't want to be around. So now I can do some other stuff instead. I don't need to think about the monolith as much as I thought I was going to. And so you need to be set up to capitalize on good luck. You also need to be set up to dig yourself out from bad luck. And that's where having a list and a sense of what the most important things are and working through those so that if one of the important things starts going wrong, you can adapt rather than trying to do that at the end. And you're like, oh, I've already shot like 3-4 little units. They could have helped me get this last couple of wounds off. Now they can't. These kinds of things. And what I do, and this is actually I apply this to a bunch of different phases. If you look at the board, you know what I'm talking about. You look at the board, it's like turn 2, turn 3. And one bit of the board makes you go, "Duh," and another bit of the board makes you go, I don't mind this bit of the board so much. If it looks simple, straightforward, get the simple bits sorted out, and then solve the puzzle. Work out what the puzzle is. That's the bit where you need a bit of time, need to think, need to unpack the different elements that are in play. But those bits are worth really thinking through and not just wading into and randomly doing different things, because that's where you might start going wrong. Wonderful. Okay, Davey, I'm going to tee you up first because you've been down the end of Ed and Chris the last couple of times, and it's quite an interesting one. This is sequencing.
Well, it's kind of, I suppose, like I said before, right? If you're going to get bonuses from certain units,
good
shooting first, like yeah, just do that first. I create, like Chris said before, like using units that can only see one unit, like get rid of those ones first because they've got no flex, and then just see how the turn takes you, like activation by activation. Yeah,
is there anything in what the opponent can do that's worth thinking about with sequencing?
Of course, yeah. So if you want to try and bait out an armor of contempt, for example, like see what they're doing there, smoke screens, all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
building models as well. Like obviously,
that's a big one.
Obviously, like quite often you'll find, well, like line up some units, and I'll start it, and I'm like, wait, if I shoot now and they pull from here, then actually the other stuff won't be able to shoot. So then you're starting to think, well, what do I start to shoot with? What's the best way of making sure? And obviously, a lot of that is actually solved in the movement phase.
It is
making sure you've got the angles so that you can get around that sort of thing. But yeah, thinking about, especially if they've got big units spread out, that can cause a whole host of issues in terms of like killing from range and from line of sight. So that's certainly a really important thing.
So this is, in terms of that, if you have a Necron Warrior brick or you have a Dark Commune, when I'm playing Votann, the question I'm always having in terms of sequence is, do I have some Hearthguard that can see the character in this unit? Yes, then it's fine. Everything else can just happen the way it needs to happen, because they will always be able to get to the ends of that unit, because you can't pull away the characters before you pull away the normal unit. And it's stuff like that where it's like, am I able to make sure there isn't a situation here where I half kill something and then lose the ability to keep killing it? And that is where the sequencing and the ordering of things, which is partly, as Chris says, a movement thing, is very important. Ed, do you want to come in here?
Yeah, so I think all of those are quite easy to play around. Where it becomes difficult is when you have two factors to consider.
Yes.
So a great example is Game 5. I was playing against World Eaters. My opponent had Khan and a squad of Berserkers. They were sort of like straddling each side of an objective. So I walked my Carnivore onto the board, 9.1 inches away, and I made sure that my other brigands that I wanted to shoot at the carnivores, the corn berserkers, too much corn, were about 13 inches away. The reason being, when you shoot berserkers, they can make a d6-inch move towards something. So it's like, cool. All I'm going to do is make sure, even if he pulls the models closest to the carnivore, he doesn't get to move towards my shooting units. So then I, shot one unit. He rolled his d6. He only rolled one, so he didn't actually get them over the other side of the wall. At which point he was stuck in a position where he's like, okay, cool. So now you're going to shoot me with both of the things that want to shoot me, and I don't even get to, pull out of there without making the charge into the carnivore much easier to do.
Good. Yeah, exactly that. And that's where because of the different tricks and tools that enemy units have, you need to be aware of those, and you need to be doing things in an order that doesn't allow someone to what I'd call it no selling you, right? They can no sell you sometimes. So let's say, for example, you half damage something, and then someone makes it untargetable. Then you're in trouble. You're not going to do any more, and you've lost half your efficiency, and then something else is going to. So you're trying to. We talked about it already, but you're trying to bait out those things or test your opponent's resolve. I remember when I played Jack Asher at the narrative event, he had Nurgle Terminators, Big Brick, and a Nurgle Forge Fiend. And I was like, I'd lined up the Terminators with a bunch of stuff. Now I'm just going to start shooting this Forge Fiend and see how committed you are to keeping it alive. And Sagittars obviously have this sustained D3 las cannon, so you're like, you never know what could happen here. Like any Sagittar can go off. And you're just kind of testing the resolve and kind of probing, trying to get them to use defensive strats in the wrong places or in places they don't really want to. And that gives you more ins for the rest of the shooting phase as well.
Just to add to that as well, I think a lot of people, if you say, "Oh, well, I've got I've got a lone op strat," and I can say I got lone op this unit. If you shoot it, and then opponents go, "Okay, I'll just shoot that instead." What they should say is, "I'm going to shoot your unit and make me lone op it. Make me spend the CP."
Exactly. Use it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Force it.
So, like what you're saying, Tom, you're making them make a choice which of these units you want to live. But also, if there's only one option, just target them. Don't forget. Just make sure you get them to use the CP.
Yeah, completely.
The weekend, I had 2 games where people just didn't do it. They just shot something else, and I'm like, cheers for the CP.
Just in terms of the that strat that you're talking about, the lone up one, great for Nids. It's the Vanguard detachment, isn't it? I played against Nids, so turn 1, my shooting phase, I was like, cool, I'm going to declare all of my units shooting into this with Dreadhounds. The way Dreadhounds works is you have to declare at the start of the shooting phase, and you have to put all of your shots into that unit. You can't put them elsewhere, but you get sustained hits from it. And then I was like, hold on a second. If I do that, you just make it a lone op, and then none of my models get to shoot. I won't do that. And then I just got to, shoot at his models slightly less efficiently, but he didn't deny my entire thing. So you've got to be careful not to get caught out by something like that lone op strat.
Yeah. My favourite one is when they Oath of Moment that unit.
Yes, that's a good time.
Because you've got to declare it so early. Fuck. Yeah.
Another example that I think is extremely relevant in our current meta as far as sequencing goes is the wonderful world of transports, right? Is there a sequencing that you can cook up in a shooting phase where you're going to be able to open a transport from one angle and then leave them in a position where they can't avoid whatever falls out being shot by something else? And that obviously, again, it's partly about movement, it's partly about setup, but it also involves you using the right guns at the right time to make sure you get the job done to open a transport and also threaten its inside. Otherwise, you just get Russian dolled and jumped on by something. So that's where it's the order in which things happen has a big impact on things like your opponent's ability to kind of counter you and score and other things as well. So again, there's not a right way of doing this, but there definitely are wrong ways of doing it, and that's kind of how you learn, right? By walking into things the first few times. Great. Okay. We've started alluding to this, but just to finalize and push through with it, it's counterplay. So I guess in 10th, it's probably useful. What are the main forms that counterplay takes in the shooting phase? What kinds of things are out there that we need to be aware of? We've name-checked a whole bunch of them. But
do you want to talk about Wraithguard, Chris?
Yeah,
Chris.
Oh, yeah. So Wraithguard have got this ability where if you shoot them, they can then shoot anything they like within 18-inch range. And to be fair, I mean, I think I've only ever used the ability once. Because either the Wraithguard are hidden or people go,
bombs, right?
I'm not stupid. I'm not going to do this. I mean, the one time someone did it when they rolled up a Land Raider right next to my Wraithguard to charge and tank shot them. And it shot in, and I was like, I can now shoot all my Wraithguard into a Land Raider, right? And he was like, oh, no. It's like, would you like to undo that? Yes, please. So, it's an ability which is obviously incredibly powerful, so you just have to be aware of it. So, yeah, obviously, Wraithguard.
And there's a few shootbacks out there.
But there are, that's it, isn't it? There's, Votan have got a strat. Right,
everyone's favourite fucking marine detachment.
I never use the Votan one, but I always tell people I have it because it's fun watching them play differently. But that's a very important thing, and obviously the thing with that is that if there is something out there that you're worried about shooting you back, you want to do 2 things, right? You either want to kill it in one go, then there's less of an issue, or you want to leave dealing with that thing till later because that means it's not going to shoot anything of yours that you want to shoot and kill it. So that's one kind of counterplay. What else have we got out there?
Well, so you say that Wraithguard have only got an 18-inch range. This is fine. I'll just, I'll move my Hellblasters up
Don't do it.
20 inches away.
I don't want to live through this again.
That's perfect, right?
That's lovely. However,
Yeah.
at the end of your movement phase, I've reduced to Phantasm.
Okay, what does that do?
Well, it means I get to move
Hmm.
6 inches in your movement phase with any infantry.
Right.
So now suddenly I'm thinking, I'm suddenly within range.
So you're saying if I've got 24-inch range guns, there's no way for me to safely shoot Wraithguard?
Can't.
It would seem unlikely, Edward.
Yeah. You'd be a mug to play an army that only had 24-inch range guns.
Yeah, joke's on you. I'll charge you with my brigands and just tie you up forever. No, we'll come on to that later on. Hellblasters, there's another one. When they die, they shoot. It's not even a strat. Don't even care if you've got any CP. I'm just going to roll a load of 4 up, so I'm going to go blap and have a great time.
Absolutely. I think Phantasm is obviously quite an egregious example, but other kinds of movement, and some of those do activate, anything that can move when it's going to be shot or targeted. Can it jump back in a transport? If you shoot this transport, is our aggressor's going to jump out and shoot you back? All these kinds of little things. The minutiae. What you don't want the shooting phase to be is a turn in which you start losing stuff if you can avoid it, right? That is a pretty bad state of play, and there are certainly tools and tricks out there that your opponent can use that will create that situation.
Yeah, mistake I made at teams. Imperial Guard. I can't remember. It's either the normal Lehman Russ or the tank commander.
There's a shoot on death one, right?
There's a shoot on death just on the data sheet. I believe it is. And you know what you should do? You should kill the one that doesn't shoot on death. You know what I did? I killed the one that shoots on death, and it made a game that was like 100 to 35 into 160. And I really needed to not do that, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't do that. Yeah, I my Hearthguard killed that at the weekend, and it shot them, and it did nothing. I love Hearthguard.
Always a good feeling. Existence says tank commander. Quick shout out to Existence, who is currying favour with me, saying nice things in chat. I notice you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Existence. And we have indeed covered the movement that some units can get in the shooting phase as you requested. So thanks for that. Tom Green also says oil haircut. Yes, I do have a haircut. It's quite nice. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate your coverage. And John Scrivo is here, and he says fitties. David, you coming in?
Auto explode stratagems as well.
Yes, exactly.
That's a new vibe.
Yeah, I have had elf armies surrounding knights that have auto exploded so many times in my life that I can't even begin to start. It just is so damaging. And so anything that auto explodes, you need to know about that. You need to be ready for that.
If you want to find out about armies that can auto-explode, such as the very present in the meta Ironstorm detachment, check out Cracking the Codex episode, I believe it's number 3, maybe episode 4. We do cover that there.
Exactly that.
And if you ever are lucky enough to play Crusher Stampede, I'm praying, guys. I'm praying.
Here he comes.
You can play big bugs, you just have to not do it in Crusher Stampede.
Yeah.
Just take 50 points off him and watch the
but you can't take Screamer Killers because they're 170 points.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they're bad.
They're really bad. But cool model.
It is a very cool model.
Kareen says, Jack, the thing about Kareen is it's quite hard to plan for. That's why it's so beautiful.
Yeah. It's the dream when it comes
You don't know when it's going to happen.
If you ever bump into Jack Tight at an event, ask him about the time he had a great time into, I think it was Brian Steep's
Orcs, Brian,
when the Kareen lost him an unlosable game.
Amazing.
It was beautiful.
Madness, absolute madness. And I think general counterplays would just be, and this the significance of this varies massively depending on what you play, but Armor of Contempt, anything that reduces your AP, that massively hurts some armies. So you need to know where it can be applied and be ready to deal with that. Modifiers to hit, modifiers to wound, anything like that. Again, you have to know where it can be sprung. You have to know the armies that have it, and you have to have the extra support to deal with that in the event that it occurs. So Orcs are a great example. Orcs have a -1 to wound strat. That can completely throw you off if you try and take things on piecemeal, and suddenly you've got like 6 squig hogs coming down a flank that you're not able to deal with. So you absolutely, and Talos for Drakari, similar things. So you have
Changeling.
to be able to Changeling
could
I've been
turn
done
off
by the
shooting
Changeling.
entirely.
Turn off shooting, lose a whole crisis brick.
I took the Changeling for the first time in 10th edition this weekend. I only used his ability to turn off shooting once. I rolled a 6. As far as I'm concerned, most broken unit in the game. Because
It's
if
crazy
you roll a
when it goes
1,
off.
nothing happens. On a 2 through 5, they're -1 to hit. On a 6, they just don't shoot. And I'm like, this shit is insane if you could roll 6s.
Yeah. Jack Chapman lost an entire crisis brick activation to that thing at one of the events. I'm not
You
joking.
hate to see it.
Yeah, so
You hate to see it.
that's how bad that can get. So yeah, there's a lot of little traps and minefields in the shooting phase right now. So know what they are, know where they are, and be ready to deal with them. We have one more, and then we are out of a topic. And this final one is redundancies. Not just because it's winter in 2023, but because we're talking about the shooting phase. What do we mean by redundancy? What's useful about that?
Have multiple of the same weapon in your list. Like, you should be able to bring, like, Chaos Knights are a great example for it. I have in my list 7 melters. Do I want to kill vehicles? I will put multiple melters into it. Do I want to kill hordes? I will put multiple chain cannons into it. If, they manage to kill 3 of my high value shooting units, do I still have ways to deal with tanks? Yes. There is a little bit of overlap in the melee phase as well. Like, for example, if you have good shooting and good melee that can deal with the same threats, even better. But if we're talking specifically shooting, it doesn't have to be the same gun, but bring units that can fulfill the same purpose.
Good. Yeah, because that's actually that shooting melee combo is quite interesting, because actually sometimes, and this is a goal we should have talked about, sometimes your goal is to soften something up, right? You don't want it dead because you want to charge your big brick of heroes onto it to get on a point that you want to be on. So if you do kill it, you ain't getting there. You're just stood hanging about waiting. So knowing what will underkill to an adequate amount is also
I love when my
powerful.
opponent like super spikes and kills the unit that they think is impossible to kill with the 1 activation, and then they don't make the charge and take my primary away. I'm like,
exactly. And that's
beautiful.
where it has to serve that wider purpose. What do you reckon, Davey? What do you know of redundancy in 40k?
Well, I think, I mean, it's fairly self-explanatory, isn't it? It's you want to ensure that you're in. Well, no, but
We're out of job.
I'm literally buying for time while I think of something clever to say. But I think playing against Liam was very interesting at the weekend, because Liam Calibert, Custodies player, very good. Just the way he positioned his tanks, he had redundancy in terms of, as the turn progresses, then he can decide to shoot at other things instead.
Exactly that.
And okay, maybe this thing can't see this now, but now it can kill that. And it just kind of, it makes you look like everything's going to plan regardless of what's happening, because you're just getting through what you need to get through.
And that's the secret of 40k, is that you're sort of making things up, but in a logical way. And then it all comes together and it looks like a plan, and it's great.
Or actually have a plan.
Nope, that's not how I play. I refuse to play that way. I make things up and it seems to go okay. But yeah, exactly right. Having things that are lined up, so if something dies, great, shoot something else. If it doesn't die, great, get some help, finish it off. Overlapping fields of fire. Is that a strat? That feels like a strat name that someone...
9th edition Imperial card.
Oh, very well.
Or maybe 8th edition. It was +1 to wound, I believe.
Yeah.
Cadian locked, perhaps.
Very nice. But yeah, so that's a very big part of it. And in a broader sense, also having, as you said, multiple versions of a gun, so that you have more than one. Have you got one Magna Rail, you're gonna have a sad time, right? It's just not going to do anything. If you had 2 or 3, suddenly it starts looking like something that might actually be consistent.
Yeah, and that comes down to the list writing philosophy. And I know Chris and I disagree on this massively, because he likes to have a little bit of everything. And I'm not saying he's wrong. I mean, he's been playing, especially Eldar, with this style, and he's doing very well with it. But every time I write a list, I'm like, cool, I'm having 3 fire prisms. Why? Because if 1 dies, I still want 2. And if 2 die, I still want to make you feel bad when, I blow up something across the table.
I've always liked pairs. I think at least 2. If you think something's good, at least 2.
I think you have to run 3 of something if it's valuable. Is my personal philosophy. And,
I totally get it.
Because things will die early on. And if you're planning on having 2 of something, you find that having 1 doesn't give you that redundancy. Especially with something like a fire prism, where you can really get
when their value just goes
force
up
multiplier.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Someone mentioned Custodes, Davey mentioned Custodes, and it reminded me of what I was doing in 9th edition with those grav tanks. This is slightly cheating into next week, but charge with your goddamn shooting tanks. Like, you know where my brigands ended up all weekend? In combat. You know why? Because I can shoot out of combat.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to kill me in combat, I'm kicking you with my feet. And you're going to be real sad about it when you don't get a fall back and charge, because that's just not a rule that many armies have in the game.
Yeah, and they tend to also have pretty decent OC.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They do. And if they're
one of the favorite things about my Trigons and Exocrines is they will have one more OC than a Sagittar.
Nice.
I don't like that. I dislike that. What if I were to have 2 Sagittars?
Well, then I'm buggered.
What if you had 2 Exocrines?
Oh no! What if I had 6 Sagittars? Is that
shit?
I've got a picture from one of my events.
That is
because obviously Trigons come within 3 inches, and I've got a picture of a Votann player I played 2 weeks ago with each, like, if you think of this, the objective,
I know
like
exactly
a triangle of Sagittars, say that you do not go on this objective with this Trigon.
Trigon's scary.
Yeah, could have achieved the same thing by putting 1 Sagittar on the middle, but
could have done.
Yeah, this is
when
true.
You've got so many
Who am I to
Sagittars,
say?
you've got to put them to use, right? That's just
that's fair.
Cool. I think we've covered everything. I mean, does anyone have any parting shots before we finish up this topic? Anything you'd like to reiterate? Davey, go.
Sequencing. Go. Blast weapons first.
Hey, look at that.
There you go.
Exactly.
Pointing out the obvious every day. That's this guy.
Yeah, but that's absolutely right.
Yeah,
that is absolutely right.
But the amount of times I've not done it,
I forget it all the time.
Yeah,
because and that's an interesting point actually, because quite often I'll be like, I need to shoot these guns because of this amount of damage into these wound profiles, and that's my first thought, is getting the efficiency in terms of the damage amounts, and then I think about blast secondary. And then I'm like, oh man, now there's like 4 left. And so it's just having that overall picture, isn't it, of what's better in terms of blast and damage and working it out.
Yeah, so if you want to get consistent with your fundamentals, there is a great program you can sign up to. Turns out it's not fucking us, because we're all really inconsistent.
I'm quite good at remembering the blast keyword, because everything I run has it. But yeah, that's definitely a case. I guess it's also like hunter killers, something like that. They're a sequencing thing where it's like, do I need to use this turn? How serious? Are my guns getting this done? Okay, we've got a problem. We're not quite taking enough wounds off. Then I can use hunter killers. Make sure I get it finished up.
I just want to say as well, like, if you're playing tanks with hunter killers, fucking declare properly. I swear to God,
thinking the same thing.
If I hear someone say, I'm going to shoot everything, and then the model dies and they don't pull the hunter killer that they've magnetized off, if that happens one more time to me, I'm going to be mildly peeved.
So just don't cheat, guys. Don't cheat would be the takeaway there. Absolutely.
Be more clear with your communication.
When I played Matt Wright, who was playing guard, his beautiful guard army, and he had little red blast thingies on each tank, and that's the hunter killer, and then it comes off when the hunter killer's gone. Perfect, beautiful, absolutely lovely. Wonderful, cool. That's shooting. It is certainly one of the phases of 40k, and we will be on to. I mean, are we charging? I don't really want to talk about charging in 10th edition, but I guess
tank
we
shock.
should.
Next episode,
we'll do just charging in fight phase, I guess.
That'll be the next one.
I think that feels good, and I'll have to learn how that phase actually works by then.
My World Eaters opponent, whose name I've forgotten, I think it was Aaron. If it isn't Aaron, apologies. Really sorry about that. He was great to watch charging. He was very meticulous in his movement in his charge phase, which I love. Don't want to see any of those streamed World Eaters games where people are moving an extra 3 inches every time they pick up the models. Not naming any names.
Absolutely.
But he was an absolute treat to play because he was so meticulous with his movement, which I have to be as well playing vehicles. But just hit, the sequencing of which models he was picking up, so he could go, cool, I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put this here. Yeah. Oh, look, I can't now move here, and I'm going to string out onto the objective because I can do that. It's just
there's quite a lot in the charge phase, isn't there? Really?
It's just worse than it was.
There's a lot going on, and that's why. I mean, I'm fortunate because I have 2 World Eaters mains. Here who will know the fight phase inside out.
Oh, so well.
Chris charges with units that aren't just one orange dude all the time.
Another one, right? Rapid ingress followed by heroic interventions.
Oh,
right? Is that allowed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
again?
I mean, you're
outrageous.
never going to have 3 CP at the
I
start of the
don't
turn.
believe
But
What if your
that's
unit
allowed.
automatically does it for heroics for
Maybe
free?
it is.
none of mine do. But
Mine-
I'm glad you said those words, because now I get to say rapid ingress in a shooting phase.
We
Oh,
are.
there we go.
Here's
we
just
are.
a
Oh,
just a
no.
wrap up before we go on to. Keep in mind where your opponent's going to rapid ingress when you're planning out your shooting phase before you go into your shooting phase. I won't go any further on that because I can see
No,
Tom
but it's
about
good.
to
No,
cry.
but you are completely right. It is.
Yeah.
You want to force them to not have a good place to come down or to risk
Yeah.
tanking some shooting. Absolutely. Because then rapid ingress becomes a lot less useful. One unit we didn't talk about, but shooting that debuffs is also relevant. Don't forget that. Don't forget your Night Spinner. Don't forget to make things battle shock. Don't forget to do different things that
I
sort of
really
debuff
tried
your
to forget
opponent's
the light
movement.
spinner.
I know, but that's another thing that shooting
I-
phase is about, is laying debuffs on the opponent too.
I
So
can't wait for that model to go to 240 points.
I know. Anyway, that's that.
Good,
Artillery is a
thank
big deal in 40k. It's much easier to do shooting if you have artillery too. Don't forget that. Now we're going to do some questions. We're going to move to some questions. I think we got a couple in the chat, so if someone wants to fish through those, I will go to the Discord and try and make sense of it.
Question for the end. Wish list and most likely things for the next slate.
That's a whole episode in itself.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah, we don't want to blend content.
One thing that each of you would like. Go, Davey.
Oh God, Screamer Killer's come down. No, that's
No,
fine.
That's
I'll
great.
go with that.
Cheap Screamer
Valid.
Killers. Lovely. 110 points. Let's go.
Be
Chris.
fun.
Fugan to go up slightly, but not too much.
Reasonable. Ed.
Indirect to die, and also for the balanced data slate to come out as soon as possible so I can decide what I want to play for next season.
Yeah. Cool.
So true. I started gluing together my non-emissary, and I was like, "What am I doing?
Yeah.
This could be 1,000,000 points in 8 weeks' time." So I'm going to hold off.
You've no idea.
Yeah, but
you don't know what's going
it
on.
won't be.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah,
How
shouldn't.
many GTs is that one? None. I put it on the
None.
table once. Sorry, the virtual table. I put 3 of them on the table. I was like, this is going to be so fucking sick. I've got so much OC. Oh no, they're not good.
Yeah, they're not good. But
But
which one
stats
might
are fine.
come down in points? Maybe, who knows?
I think
Might
they're
be.
all right. It's just they don't necessarily play to the way that Nids want to play.
For sure.
They have won a GT, by the way.
Have they? There you go.
Lovely. If you want to see more of that, do check out Bug Watch with Davey. He goes through all of the top events that you'll see Tyranids doing well at.
Absolutely.
Occasionally.
And, yeah, for Data
Only
Slate,
when it's worth doing.
Don't gut Votan, but do adjust them a bit, and then make Drakari great again. Let's do it. Make a huge mistake, GW. That's what we want. And then questions wise, we have.
I'll do another one. This is Lou. With the switch to power level and more big chunky units going towards the middle of the board, do you guys feel like the game has become more like chess, trading piece for piece in shooting?
I have been cheating with a fucking vibrating butt plug, so yeah, it's pretty similar to chess. I don't know if anyone here knows that.
Oh, remember the
Hold
butt
the
plug?
controversy.
I have
No.
no idea.
Okay, great. That's going to make no sense to anyone. Any of you viewers out there who know about the vibrating
I know about
butt
it.
plug?
Yeah.
That one's for you. Not true, by the way. Just like
There's quite a
pure
funny
conjecture.
story.
Yeah.
I just
No,
love
it
the
was,
idea.
it's true.
Yeah.
Google the news story
We
if
are
you are
not.
listening. You're
We are
interested.
not well qualified
Google
to wade
chess
into
anal
this
butt
debate.
plug and see what happens.
And live your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what do we think to the suggestion that 40k has become more like chess, gentlemen?
Very pleasurable. So, I guess we were saying the other day, weren't we? It seems to be moving more towards that MSUE style, which is very much a trade piece kind of war.
Transports, delivery.
I think it depends a lot on your army, to be fair, but in that situation, I know, like, for me, it's very much the Eldar about trying to trade the little pieces efficiently. Obviously, when you've got big bricks, it's like hoping this big sledgehammer can just go through, and that isn't quite like chess. But yeah, lots of little pieces of reasonably equal value. Yeah, definitely. Depends on the matchup, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely has that flavour to it, but I think it always still also has the 40k still always has the overload option, and there are always some things out there that play by here is everything, what's going to happen now. It does depend a bit match to match, but I definitely think there is a lot of give and go MSU type play. If you look at Brian Sipes' Orc list for Leicester, that's like CSM but Orcs. It's got like mega knobs and knobs in little 5-mans in vehicles, and everyone's doing this little, I send my little squad, you send yours, I send my next one, I keep going, I keep swapping you off the point. So there's a lot of it out there for sure. We have a question. Just Makestart has asked, did I get my haircut and tidy my room just for my date/interview with Vic? Yes, I absolutely did. But you'll notice I hadn't shaved for that. Only for these gentlemen. They get the clean shave. Then Synergies says, if you were all a squad of guardsmen in the 6++ first regiment, Chris is of course the sergeant. But who is the comms officer? Who's got the med kit? And who has the plasma gun?
Didn't
John
someone
Scribble
say
has the
definitely don't trust Tom with the medikit?
I said that.
You said that, yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't be anywhere near a medkit. But the problem is I also shouldn't be anywhere near a plasma gun or a comms array. Yeah. So
you're a liability, really.
We've got a bit of a problem there. I mean, Davey on comms makes sense, right? I think Davey's quite
cracking jokes as the Tyranid invasion drops from the sky.
I'm just gonna for the medkit. I'm just gonna read out one of the other comments, which was said from Titchy, who says, "I think Ed would have the medkit. He has the kind of no nonsense attitude needed to amputate a leg in the field."
Well, if you wanted to keep your leg, you shouldn't have fucking got it damaged, should you? That'll commissar. I've got the very rigid black and white view on morality that I think would suit that.
Yeah, which I think, I mean, it means I think I will take the plasma gun as the leftover and just hope that I don't overheat it.
Don't roll a one.
Don't roll a one. That's fine. I like those odds. That'd be okay. So then we had, Will Level asked, when are you releasing 6++ objective markers? Chris, anything to say on that?
We have actually, so we've had our current ones for like a year. There were a couple of issues with them. Number one, too thick. Number two, cut by hand, which is obviously not ideal. So we are looking to get some new ones. Scrivo is, instead of watching this stream, he should be designing a objective marker as we speak. So get on that, minion. But
he is just the workhorse at the moment.
He really is.
Scrivo is a machine.
He's everything going well at the moment.
We love Scrivo.
Yeah, he's the man behind the throne. He's the only reason we're succeeding. Right
now. He's the Malcador. But yeah, we are. The plan is to start like bringing out more merch. Get over yourself, Scrivo. And
don't get cocky, kid.
And we do hope to have some new ones. We found a supplier which we would like to use. So watch this space.
More on that
for your multiple 3-2s in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe we should get some objective markers that have 3-2 on them. That might be quite nice.
Going 3-2 feels so much better on a 6++ objective marker.
Yeah, you just imagine it. You're just across from the opponent and you just put objective markers that just say, I am going to go 3-2 on. I think that'd be great.
Just on the 2-2 game, you're both 2-2 as well, and you're like, I'm confident. I would, I would definitely like to get some good ones. So, definitely will be happening.
Going to make a Votan main T-shirt. I'm definitely here for that. You need to make that quickly before I get the
it's
the
not going to be
something else.
What, like one more tournament?
I think I'll play some more in the new year. I am really enjoying them. I think I'll just start interspersing it with other stuff. I do need something. They're not very cerebral, Votan. They are very fun. They're not very cerebral. It's been fun learning to play something that's just, here is my Chewy army.
Deal with it. Yeah.
We've got some questions from Sindri. I like these questions. The first one is, the best gun is the grenade strat. Fight me. Anyone got any comments to add to that?
Not a question.
Wrong chat.
However, yeah. And you know what I fucking love? You know what I fucking love about the grenade strat? That nobody fucking remembers to use it against my full vehicle army. Get fucked, nerds. I had one person remember to use the grenade strat.
My word!
The entire weekend. It was. I was very pleased about it. Not that I don't think about my opponent having to use it because it's not something I have.
That is a shooting phase thing. if you've got
Yeah.
something that's within 8 to use grenade, don't accidentally kill the thing that's within 8, so then you can't use
Do
grenade.
it first.
Just get the grenade done, because you run out of CP and you'll forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the one who was talking about it in the group chat, so I'm not going to claim knowledge on it the most, but there was a lot of chatter, I think, especially from you, Tom, in our group chat about assault marines, or the assault intercessors, I should say.
Yes.
They're a great shooting unit, because you'll rock them up 12 inches, you'll throw the grenade, and then you'll charge and do some more mortal wounds. And, before you even get to combat, you've done, on average, 6 mortal wounds or something.
For their points, they are really nice for that. And you've got a unit that can basically, you can have 3 units that can basically half kill the incarn as required. That's not bad, is it?
Bullshit.
That's not bad at all. So yeah, definitely. And Jack says Death Guard quadruple grenade turn. Yes, indeed. The biologist Putrefier, actually one of my favorite models I've ever painted, is genuinely really good right now. Run 3, go nuts.
That would be really scary if they had the movement to get in range of you.
Stop it, because they're going to get more points cuts. They're going to be best in the world in a couple of months' time.
They're going to get another
10
they're going to get 10 to 15 percent point cut, and people are going to go, "Oh, these still aren't good."
Stop it.
Hey man,
like Leah VSL runs them at Worlds.
No, one of the best players in the world can take an underperforming army and do well with it. The faction must be good. Fuck off. How dare you come into my house and try and gaslight me?
Completely fair. Davey's had to go because it's late and he has responsibilities. So thank you for being on, Davey. The next Synergy question, I love this one. I feel like this is written for me. Nerf, buff, kill. Custodes, Drakari, Imperial Knights.
Before you say anything,
I'm going to let you say it. We all know what I'd say.
I think we have the same answer. So I think Chris should go first.
Okay.
Right, nerf, buff, kill what? Custodes, Imperial
Drakari
Knights.
and Imperial Knights.
Okay, well, I hate Imperial Knights, so kill them.
Yep.
Nerf Custodes to piss off Lee Jones.
Yeah.
And then buff Drakari just to cause absolute havoc.
We're all in agreement.
That's
this
exactly
is
what needs to happen.
So
and that is the data slate. That is going to be the data slate. We're going to put Custodes and Knights, struggling factions, in the ground, and then lift Drakari to the dizzying heights of best faction in the game. Let's do it.
I think it just makes sense, though. Imperial Knights, yes, it sucks for the people who really like the lore of them. You can just play Chaos Knights instead. Like, there is another faction there, so we can kill them and not feel too guilty about it. This is okay. Custodes, one of the whingiest groups in existence, deserve a nerf. Army's still pretty decent. Fucking at me in the comments. You're wrong. I will probably start playing in.
So in good hands, still great.
Potentially, that's one of the armies I'm looking at playing in the new year, just to prove everyone that they're idiots. And then buff Drakari, because they've been playing a really dull, boring playstyle for all of 10th edition.
Drakari have been in the bin for a little while now, so let's give him a little run. Let's give him a little tilt at the top. Plus, it gives the Elves players somewhere to go. Very, very
oh god,
good.
Fucking Yunari is just going to be disgusting accidentally.
This is
anyway,
is the side effect. Yeah, this is the side effect problem, but we'll just deal with that when we get to it. Touchy also asks, ignoring balance, what is your favorite army and build style to play as and against?
Against, orcs are always a winner.
Always orcs, isn't it? Orcs just rock.
Because you can that's because they flood the board and you don't have anywhere to go with your tricksy tricks.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
if you play good honest 40k, and you like killing your opponent's models and interacting with the board.
I don't like killing people.
I didn't say killing people. I'd never admit to that on camera.
Don't like killing the models.
Yes, if you like killing opponents' models and then winning or losing the game, orcs, it's orcs for you.
Yeah, orcs are awesome, and to play I like stuff that goes and gets everywhere and dies. That's what I enjoy. I don't really like hiding. I like to go and have a massive Barney and everyone die.
My favorite army in the game is coming back, and that is 8th edition Necrons, and by that I mean Tesla Necrons, and by that I mean Tesla Necrons exploding on 5s, double 6s, full rerolls to wound, doing devastating wounds, and I am so ready.
That's horrifying, but yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris? What's your favourite build to play?
I think I don't know. It's hard. Like I've played so much. What do you say?
World Eaters.
It's running at people.
World Eaters.
My new girlfriend is the hottest.
I think there's 3 key plays. When I played the Admech, I didn't particularly enjoy it. Yeah, you were blowing everyone away off the board, but actually, wasn't a particularly fun. I really enjoyed the Flying Gun Line Necrons, which was kind of about killing one thing whilst tagging something else and a lot of manoeuvring. I did enjoy Yanari at the end of ninth, which was quite an aggressive army, like bum rushing. I'm so used to just playing armies which don't interact or try and avoid interacting and just win. And one of my most satisfying games ever was when I played Harlequins into Sisters and I killed 3 models the entire game, and I knew I'd won turn 1 though, just from move blocking and that sort of thing. I used to play a lot of chess as a child, as a teenager, and I get quite a lot of satisfaction out of that.
Yeah, he does that. That's why World It is a really interesting experiment for him, because
I want to change my answer. It's Tau. It's 9th edition Tau when I can play within 9 inches of you. Like, God, I love that so much. I didn't even have like a massive win rate. I think I was averaging like 60-something% at events, which is like a lot of 3-2s, the occasional 4-1. But like, God, it was so fun.
Scott Lyon says, "Wow, I'm making the live show somehow. Star aligned." Scott,
excellent.
I have terrible news. Right, as you in the chat will all know, we agreed we'd keep going until Scott got here. He's here now, so it's time. It's time to call it a night. It's been wonderful having you all here. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have covered the shooting phase. We have covered a bunch of listener questions. We really appreciate how many of you there are tuning in. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you to everyone that came and said hey at half sheer duty and said nice things about the content. That meant a lot. So we'll be back again very soon to talk more phases. And if you did arrive at the show very late and you need to watch it, don't worry, it's just on YouTube now. So I suggest you do that. Wonderful. See you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.